people of Noah,
Yes.
and you see what has happened to in the past in the archaeological researches that you can make, like in Mohenjo-daro in Sindh, Taxila after Rawalpindi. When you go and see these things, then you realize there were mighty people living on this earth long before Hitler and Mussolini.
Yeah.
And civilizations, buildings, monuments they had put up.
Wow.
What happened to them? Where are they? So in other words, now this is a lesson Allah Bari Ta'ala wants us to imbibe by travel. So if we travel with that intention, it's also an act of virtue, blessing, sawab.
Yes.
It's a religious duty.
Yes.
With that idea. Not just to say, look, I'm going to go to Paris and have a jolly good time, or go to Los Angeles or San Francisco.
No, not at all.
Not from that angle.
Not at all.
Yes.
So far on this trip, I have visited the Muslimin in Bali, in Thailand,
Yes.
where I even had doubts there were Muslimin.
Right. Can you tell us something about these Muslim habitations, people, communities, like in Bali?
Well, of course, in Bali, it's one of the islands.
Bali is one of the Indonesian islands.
Exactly, it's one of
Right.
the Indonesian islands. And as some of the listeners to this conversation may realize, Indonesia has one of the largest population of Muslims in the world, of any country, if not the largest.
Reputed to be.
Yes.
Yes.
And yet, the island of Bali is mostly, the population is mostly Hindu.
A Buddhist? I don't think.
No, Hindu,
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
Hindu.
Yes, yes.
With a very small proportion of Muslims there.
Right.
Yet the relationship between Muslim and Hindu in Bali is not like that which you would find in India.
Right.
It's a much more relaxed relationship.
Right.
And although the Muslims are in minority in the island,
Right.
they are majority throughout the country.
Right.
So in the Hindu shops, for example,
Right.
you see photographs of the Muslim leaders of the
Uh-huh.
whole country.
Right.
And they respect Islam very much
MashaAllah.
in an unusual way. So it's a very different situation, but there I landed in Padangbai, in Bali, and I went to the masjid there,
Yes.
and all the little children gathered around, and they were very surprised to see me because they rarely receive a visitor from outside
Right,
of,
right, right.
from outside of Indonesia.
Right. An American at that.
Very unusual for
It's
them.
very
So we
unusual.
exchanged address, and hopefully there'll be some communication. Yes.
Then you visit to Thailand.
Then also in Thailand, I stopped at Pattaya,
Pattaya.
which is one of the worst red light districts of prostitution in the world,
Astaghfirullah.
which actually was created by the American military when they had their soldiers in Vietnam,
Right.
and they sent them on leave. They created the city of Pattaya as a district of prostitution.
Is it far from Bangkok? Or is
It's
it far
about,
from Bangkok?
it's about 2 hours from Bangkok on the beach.
Oh.
And it's one of the most outrageously crude places in the world.
Ah.
But as I arrived there in the morning
Yes.
when things had not yet reached their peak
Your
of
ship
fren-
was not
of
there,
frenzy.
the
Yes,
ship was in Bangkok?
the ship had harbored at Pattaya,
Oh.
at this red light district.
Right.
And we took a
Not
launch.
in Bangkok.
Not in Bangkok, no. And we took a small launch into the shore.
Right.
And I walked through the streets in the morning before things had really reached their worst
Right.
state, 10 in the morning.
Yes.
And I walked and I saw the condition of things, how horrible really it could be.
Right.
Because of everything I've seen in the United States, even this red light district was really more outrageous
Then
and
the
more
American
insane than
people-
anything I'd seen. Yeah. And I was walking towards the outskirts of the town, and I had no idea that there were Muslimin in this area.
Right,
I thought
right.
they were all down near the Malaysian border.
Right.
And here we were over on the east coast of Thailand, near
Right.
Cambodia.
Right.
And I had no idea, but I was walking towards the outskirts of the city,
Right.
and there I saw two men with oriental faces who were
Yes.
Muslim.
Right.
I could identify them as Muslims,
Right.
but they looked Thai.
Right. Well, did they have anything on the head?
Yes, they were wearing Muslim style of hat, as
Right.
we're wearing now.
Right.
Takia. And I said, Salam alaikum. And they said, Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And they said, come to our house. And
Open sesame.
Yeah.
Ahlan wa sahlan.
Ahlan wa sahlan. They took me to their house.
Yes.
And it was raised on wooden stilts, with a wooden floor. And there was the grandmother and the father and all the grandchildren and many people of the family.
Right.
And the names of Allah and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were on the wall.
Yes.
And I was really quite impressed and quite surprised.
Yes.
Because also they had a strange custom, which I've never seen anywhere else in the Muslim world.
Yes.
And that is that they had the names of Allah and Muhammad and verses from Quran tattooed with ink into their skin.
Yes.
And I think that
On
this,
the bodies.
on the bodies. And I
Yes.
think that this custom is not exactly something that the Prophet ﷺ advised.
True.
But out of devotion, they've
Right.
done this,
Right.
and perhaps ignorance
Right.
that he hasn't forbidden this.
Right.
So it was an act for them of love, and I
Right.
didn't mention it to them.
Correct. Correct. It's quite-
But then they invited me to eat with them,
Right.
and I expected a small meal because the house was a very simple place.
Right.
But they brought me tray after tray of food.
Uh-huh.
And I said, what is this?
Uh-huh.
And they said, one of our daughters is married to a man from Bahrain.
Right.
And they've just had a child.
Right.
You've come late
Right.
to the ceremony of the baby.
Right.
And this is leftover food we're serving you.
Right.
So later we went to the masjid there in Thailand,
Yes.
to the mosque, and we prayed. And in the evening they said, come, we will show you our city.
Yeah.
No matter how evil it may be,
Right.
we are going to take you on an Islamic tour of the red light district. And I
Now
said,
what would that mean? Islamic tour of the red light district?
well, what it meant really is that they were going to show me even the worst manifestation
Right.
of the human character,
Right.
so that also I could be prepared to meet our enemy. You know, because until you understand Shaitan very well,
Right.
you
You can't give battle to him.
can't give battle to him. And once your iman is very strong,
Alhamdulillah.
even you change the condition of a people
Yeah.
before they change you. Because Muhammad ﷺ said that when you stay with the people for 40 days,
Right.
either you become like them or they like you.
Right. Right.
And so, when your iman is strong by Allah's idhn, by Allah's permission,
Yes.
truly you can walk into a city like that
Yes.
and change the hearts of people.
Right.
Which we did, because we met some Arab boys there who were on vacation to
Right.
make some mischief,
Right.
and we got them into a conversation about Islam,
Right.
and they were practically in tears.
Yes.
So this is possible. Allah makes all things possible.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
And you see, you did mention casually when we met
Yes.
that around where you live in the Americas, there is an Indian community, the Red Indians, what we are made to call them, the Red Indians.
Yes.
And this Indian community seems to be behaving in an Islamic way.
In some ways, this is true.
So if
Yeah.
you can tell us something about that kind of community and whether anything can be done to bring them towards Islam.
Exactly. Well, I live in the city of Taos, New Mexico.
Taos, T-A-O-S.
Exactly.
It sounds like, Taos sounds like Chinese or something.
It's an unusual word.
Yes.
And New Mexico is the state, of course, between Arizona and Texas.
Yes.
And Taos is a very unique city
Yes.
in the sense that in our city, about 2 kilometers from my house,
Yes.
is the oldest inhabited apartment building in the United States.
Oldest inhabited
Apartment building in the United States,
Yes.
800 years old.
Yes.
So that goes back way before Columbus. Made
Right.
of mud bricks,
Right.
3 stories high.
Right.
It's inhabited by the Tiwa Indian tribe.
Tiva.
Tiwa,
Tiva.
yes. And of course, the Tiwa tribe has maintained their traditional life
Yes.
up to the present moment in history.
Welcome.
So in the village, the tribal chiefs, in the
Yes.
old part of the village, the tribal chiefs are very conservative.
Yes.
There's no electricity,
Uh-huh.
no television,
Yes.
even in some places no running water.
Yes.
And still their bread is baked in mud ovens.
Right. Right.
And their life is traditional by choice.
Right.
Must be understood as not by force.
Yes.
And also their life transaction with their creator is very unique.
Yes.
And although it's not the place of someone outside their tribe to understand deeply their traditions,
Yes.
very briefly I can say that they believe very strongly in the creator,
Right.
but the knowledge of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has not been conveyed to them.
Right.
And I would say that the message of Jesus has been conveyed in a distorted way.
Right.
So many of them are clinging very strongly to the original deen which Allah has given to their specific tribe.
Right.
And if you study the Quran, you say that you see that in the beginning, each gathering of people was given a form of Islam
Right.
or a
A
form of
revelation.
deen,
A
a revelation
Right.
to suit their own specific situation.
True, true.
And so the Tiwa tribe is still clinging very strongly